all over the United States, Canada, and Europe, the Boycott, Sanctions, and Divestment Movement, BDS, continues to make strides in its effort to delegitimize the State of Israel.
Israel is a settler colonial project that does not have the right to exist. The Zionist state of Israel, in and of itself, is a crime against humanity.
So the Arab and Israeli life is worth more than all of you combined.
They continue to spread dangerous lies and mislead students.
Israel is one of the worst offenders worldwide. It is probably today the only racist country by law.
Apartheid, segregation,
brutal torture and murder, organ harvesting,
medical experimentation against Palestinian women.
Some say that if we ignore BDS, it will go away. But silence is not an option. We must fight back and stand for what we believe in. If we collaborate, share ideas, and unite as one, together we can end BDS.
The message from Congress is clear. We stand with Israel.
Let me just reiterate what Justice Eliakim Rubinstein said and what this film was talking about. Israel wants peace. Now, divestment resolutions have poisoned over 50 college campuses, and dorm rooms have swastikas painted on them. BDS has led a campaign of fear and intimidation, targeting Jewish and pro-Israel students and shutting down debates in colleges and universities. The American Center for Law and Justice is leading the fight against BDS in the legal arena, standing up for freedom of expression and against discrimination on U.S. campuses and beyond. Please welcome the Chief Counsel of the American Center for Law and Justice, a best-selling author and a distinguished Supreme Court advocate, Dr. J. Sekulow.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be with you. You saw the video. You saw what goes on in the campuses. Mr. Ambassador, Your Excellency, Justice Rubinstein, Justice Amit, Ambassador Lauder, friends, what you saw in that video taking place on America's college campuses is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. It is unacceptable in a country governed by a constitution. It is unacceptable as a matter of law. I'm before you today, and it's a humbling experience for me. My grandfather, Shmulik Sekulow, traveled from Russia in 1914 aboard a boat that took him past the Statue of Liberty. He was a fruit peddler in Brooklyn, New York. His grandson, me, I get to argue cases at the Supreme Court of the United States, in international tribunals, and now appear before you. It is humbling. But the task that we have before us is great, and we have no time for delay. In one of my very first Supreme Court arguments, one of the legal journals said I was rude, aggressive, and obnoxious. That's what my mother did, too. She applauded at that. We won that case unanimously. And in 2009, we opened our permanent office in Jerusalem. 1 year later, I found myself before the International Criminal Court in The Hague, the ICC. The Palestinian Authority, much like the BDS movement of today, sought to utilize an international tribunal for one purpose, and one purpose only: to delegitimize the Jewish state of Israel. I argued the law, and the law was clear. The Palestinian Authority was not a state. It had no business being before the ICC, and the case must be dismissed. 2 years later, that law was established, and the court did dismiss that action. That's a victory, but the fact of the matter is, BDS is the flip side of that same coin. We call it lawfare, utilizing the legal system to delegitimize a people or a group. Now, this is an ongoing battle. At the ACLJ, along with our partner organizations, we put forward a four-part strategy. First, expose the true nature of the BDS movement for what it is, and make no mistake about it. It is not a civil rights movement. It is a movement with one aim and one aim only. It is a long-term project created by anti-Israel and anti-Jewish activists that is designed with one purpose: to delegitimize and destroy the state of Israel, to delegitimize the Jewish people, to delegitimize those non-Jewish people that stand with Israel. This is the agenda. They cloak it in the garb of the civil rights movement. This is no civil rights movement. This is an unconstitutional and illegal advocacy taking place in the United States of America. Make no mistake, the goal is unambiguous. The intent is clear. It is to create an environment so hostile that those students of you that are here today would be afraid to say the word, "I am a Zionist. I am a Jew." Never, never, on the memory of our families, should we allow that to take place, and the least in the United States of America. In the past year, ACLJ lawyers have briefed 30 state legislatures on passing laws specifically to protect students, businesses, and others from this boycott, divest, and sanction scheme. We believe that this year we will see that legislation passed in a number of states. I want to talk about the legal issues. You know, I make my living practicing law. I have represented a variety of groups around the globe. We have offices in Strasbourg, France, Jerusalem, 2 in Africa, in Moscow. But in the United States of America, we are seeing right now a marked upswing on college campuses and universities, this targeted BDS. And it comes in multiple forms. It is sometimes aimed at a student who merely speaks out, exercises his or her free speech right. One of those students from Loyola University is with us today. She's brave. She's a hero. She stood up for her people, and she did it at her college. And she was the one brought up on charges. Now hear me. She exercised free speech rights, was non-disruptive, was being harassed by the BDS proponents at Loyola University in Chicago. She spoke out for her rights, and she was being prosecuted by the college. That student, Talia Neiman, is here today. I'd like her to stand up, please, for a moment. We had the privilege and honor to work with her, to put the college, the university on notice that you better read your own rules. You better read your own regulations. You better read your own accrediting agency's principles, because it does not allow targeted discrimination because someone is Jewish or pro-Israel. And that fact, by the way, got Loyola to back down. That's some good news. But let me take it a step further. It is not just students. There are professors. We are handling a number of those right now. Some of those professors are Israeli. Most of them are Americans. Most of them, but not all of them, are Jewish. They have stood up for their rights as well. I'd like to recognize another professor that we successfully represented, who stood for his principles, spoke out, on behalf of the State of Israel was going to be sanctioned, is no longer being sanctioned. Professor Andrew Pessin is here as well. I'd like, Professor. He's in the back. Thank you, Professor, for taking the stand you did. The American Sociological Association decided to have a meeting at the Westin Hotel in California, in Los Angeles. They decided, however, that because of their support of Palestinian civil society, they would boycott Israeli academic institutions, the ASA said, but they were meeting at the Bonaventure Hotel. Hotels are places of public accommodation. Places of public accommodation don't host groups that harass or discriminate against someone because of their faith, who they are, or what they believe. The ASA was being aggressive. So was I. And the end result of that was that that event took place, and as the ASA did not want to acknowledge, but did acknowledge, with Israeli academic participation. But it doesn't stop there. The United Auto Workers local college union, representing 4,000 graduate students, the University of California Student Workers Union, passed an BDS action. We went directly to the United Auto Workers Union, reminding them that they are now violating state and federal law, as is their chapter, because discrimination on the basis of national origin or race or religion is a violation. Not only did we notify the United Auto Workers, their local student workers union, but also the entire University of California system, whose chancellor sent out an email immediately. The provost said, reminding all university chancellors that the policy on course content at the UC system prohibits exactly what the UAW 2865 did. 1 year after 2865, 1 year after that labor union passed that resolution, the entire United Auto Workers passed their own resolution and nullified that BDS boycott. In its decision, the United Auto Workers representative stated that the local chapter had overstepped its parameters, that the resolution would harm UAW-represented workers and other unions, and the provisions of the resolution, despite semantical claims to the contrary by the local union, can easily be construed as academic and cultural discrimination. Here you had the United Auto Workers recognizing a chapter representing 4,000 individuals was violating the laws of the United States and the union's own issues. I told you it's not just Jewish students and Jewish professors. We represent Milan Chaudhry. He's from India. He's Hindu. He stood up against a move by those, he's also the president of the Government Graduate Student Association. The Social Justice for Palestine organization demanded money for funding an event. The GSA's policy was we don't, either side, they don't fund the events. They're not in that business. He was harassed. He was threatened. He received a letter co-signed by the Palestinian Legal Defense Group and the Social Justice for Palestine. They also received a letter from the American Center for Law and Justice, for Stand With Us, from the Brandeis Center, from the Lawfare Project, from the World Jewish Congress, from the Zionist Organization of America. And that letter said, knock it off. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that in the United States of America. City University in New York, right here, passes a resolution, their doctoral student council, boycotting Israeli academics and institutions. We not only pointed out the federal law and the state law, but also SUNY's own rules and regulations. Again, folks, they wanted to utilize the law in a delegitimate way to delegitimize the state of Israel. We're using the law to support and defend the state of Israel and the Jewish people. Fundamental difference is the law is actually on our side. On May 10th, the Chancellor, President Milken, responded to us in saying, do not worry. They have no teeth and no authority to implement the resolution. SUNY has every intention to continue its long-standing practice of exchanges with international universities, including those in Israel. Folks, friends, there's a website that our coalition partners put together, BDS.com, for the students that are here. As you can tell, you're not alone. Between us and our partners, there are hundreds, I will say thousands, of lawyers here in the United States and around the globe willing to defend, desiring to defend, winning these cases if we fight back. You know, I said we win these cases when we fight back. The truth is, we must win. We have no other option. This is our time, and this is our moment. On behalf of the American Center for Law and Justice, I would like to present to the ambassador, I gave it to him earlier, but I wanted those in the assembly to see it. The signatures of over 110,000 people from 100 countries and territories around the world. I will read this letter. On behalf of more than 110,000, that, by the way, as of this morning is 120,000, people from over 100 nations and territories around the world have signed our petition to defend Israel from anti-Israel attacks across the globe. The American Center for Law and Justice presents these signatures to you, Ambassador, on behalf of our organization, to the people of Israel, but also to you, students, concerned citizens, and distinguished guests. We said in our letter, Israel is under constant deadly terrorist attacks. Jewish students, professors, and Christians who support, and people of other faiths who support Israel, face vicious discrimination. We are fighting back, and we're fighting back with 120,000 other people. Let me close with this. You can't see these. I don't think you can see my cufflinks. Three things I'm wearing of significance for me today. This was my watch my grandmother gave me for my bar mitzvah in 1969. This is the ring Shmuel Sekulow got when he became a U.S. citizen. These cufflinks have in them shells, mortar, and rocket pieces fired from Gaza. Because when Operation Cast Lead took place and we knew there was going to be actions at the ICC, I went with my son, who's also one of our senior lawyers, and a number of other of our team, to the front line. That rocket landed about 75 feet from my son. Fortunately, he was not harmed. But we took pieces of that. Those rocket mortar are with me today as a constant reminder. We're in a struggle for life and death. It is a struggle. We will win. We have no option. Thank you very much. Thank you.